for my message today, I'd like to share an excerpt from the text of a Father's Day sermon that President Obama, then Senator Barack Obama from Illinois, gave on June 15th, the year 2008, at the Apostolic Church of God in Chicago. Obama speaks from his heart about the importance of the family, the home where we are loved and nurtured, and how critical every father is to the foundation and support of children. He shares personal insights as he tells us of his own father and upbringing. His text and sermon read, "Good morning. It's so good to be home on this Father's Day with my girls, and it's an honor to spend time with all of you today in the house of our Lord." At the end of the Sermon on the Mount, Jesus closes by saying, "Whoever hears these words of mine and does them shall be likened to a wise man who built his house upon a rock. And the rain descended, and the floods came, and the winds blew and beat upon that house. And it fell not, for it was founded upon a rock." Matthew 7, verse 24 and 25. Obama continued, "Of all the rocks upon which we build our lives, we are reminded today that family is the most important. And we are called to recognize and honor how critical every father is to that foundation. They are teachers and coaches. They are mentors and role models. They are examples of success, and the men who constantly push us toward it. But if we are honest with ourselves, we'll admit that too many fathers are also missing from too many lives and too many homes. They have abandoned their responsibilities, acting like boys instead of men. And the foundations of our families are weaker because of it." Now, you and I know how true this is in the African American community. We know that more than half of all black children live in single-parent households, a number that has doubled since we were children. We know the statistics, that any child who grows up without a father is 5 times more likely to live in poverty and to commit crime. These children are 9 times more likely to drop out of schools and 20 times more likely to end up in prison. They are more likely to become behavioral problems or run away from home or become teenage parents themselves. And the foundations of our community are weaker because of it. How many times in this last year has this city, he was speaking about Chicago, has this city lost a child at the hands of another child? How many times have our hearts stopped in the middle of the night with the sound of a gunshot or a siren? How many teenagers have we seen hanging around on street corners when they should be sitting in a classroom? How many are sitting in prison when they should be working or at least looking for a job? How many in this generation are we willing to lose to poverty or violence or addiction? How many? Yes, we need cops to be on the street. Yes, we need fewer guns in the hands of people who shouldn't have them. Yes, we need more money for our schools and more outstanding teachers in the classroom and more after-school programs for our children. Yes, we need more jobs and more job training and more opportunity in all of our communities. But we also need families to raise our children. We need fathers to realize that responsibility does not end at conception. We need them to realize that what makes you a man is not the ability to have a child, it's the courage to raise one. We need to help all mothers out there who are raising these kids by themselves. The mothers who drop them off at school, go to work, pick them up in the afternoon, work another shift, get dinner, make lunches, pay the bills, fix the house, and all the other things it takes both parents to do. So many of these women are doing a heroic job, but they need support. They need another parent. Their children need another parent. That's what keeps our foundation strong. It's what keeps the foundation of our country strong. I know what it means, he wrote, and he spoke, to have an absent father. Although my circumstances weren't as tough as they are for many young people today, even though my father left us when I was 2 years old, and I only know him from the letters that he wrote and the stories that my family told, I was still luckier than most. I grew up in Hawaii and had 2 wonderful grandparents from Kansas. Hear that? Kansas. Who poured everything they had into helping my mother raise me and my sister. Who worked with her to teach us about love and respect and the obligations that we have to one another. I screwed up more often than I should have, but I got plenty of second chances. And even though we didn't have a lot of money, scholarships gave me the opportunity to go to some of the best schools in the country. A lot of kids don't get these chances today. There is no margin for error in their lives. So my own story is different in that way. Still, I know the toll that being a single parent took on my mother, how she struggled at times to pay bills, to give us the things that other kids had, to play all the roles that both parents are supposed to play. And I know it took a toll on me, so I resolved many years ago that it was my obligation to break the cycle, that if I could be anything in life, I would be a good father to my children. That if I could give them anything, I would give them that rock, that foundation on which to build their lives. And that would be the greatest gift I could offer. I say this knowing that I have been an imperfect father, knowing that I've made mistakes and I will continue to make more, wishing that I could be home for my girls and my wife more than I am right now. I say this knowing all these things because even as we are imperfect, even as we face difficult circumstances, there are still certain lessons that we must strive to live and learn as fathers. Whether we are black or white, rich or poor, from the south side or the wealthiest suburb, the first is setting an example of excellence for our children. Because if we want to get set high expectations for them, we've got to set high expectations for ourselves. It's great if you have a job. It's even better if you have a college degree. It's a wonderful thing if you are married and living in a home with your children. But don't just sit in the house and watch Sports Center all weekend long. That's why so many children are growing up in front of the television, or in front of their Game Boy, or their computers or laptop. As fathers and parents, we've got to spend more time with them and help them with their homework and replace the video game or the remote control with a book once in a while. That's how we build that foundation. We know that education is everything to our children's future. We know that they will no longer just compete for good jobs with children from Indiana or our neighborhood, but children from India and China and all over the world. We know the work and the studying and the level of education that requires. Sometimes I'll go to an 8th grade graduation and there's all that pomp and circumstance and gowns and flowers, and I think to myself, it's just 8th grade. To really compete, they need to graduate high school, and then they need to graduate college or trade school. And they probably need that graduate degree. An 8th grade education doesn't cut it today. Let's give them a handshake and then tell them to get their butts back in the library. It's up to us, as fathers and parents, to instill this ethic of excellence in our children. It's up to us to say to our daughters, don't ever let images on TV tell you what you are worth. Because I expect you to dream without limit and to reach those goals. It's up to us to tell our sons, those songs on the radio may glorify violence, but in my house, we give glory to achievement, self-respect, and hard work. It's up to us to set these high expectations. And that means meeting these high expectations ourselves. This means setting examples of excellence in our own lives, in our own homes. The second thing we need to do as fathers is pass along the value of empathy to our children. Not sympathy, but empathy. The ability to stand in somebody else's shoes, to look at the world through their eyes. You know, sometimes it's so easy for us to get caught up in us that we forget about our obligations to one another. There's a culture in our society that says remembering obligations is somehow soft, that we can't show weakness, and so therefore we can't show kindness. But our young boys and girls see that. They see when we are ignoring or mistreating our wives. They see when we are inconsiderate at home, or when we are distant, or when we are thinking only of ourselves. And it's no surprise when we see that behavior in our schools and on our streets. That's why we pass on the values of empathy and kindness to our children by living them. We need to show our kids that you're not strong by putting other people down. You're strong by lifting them up. That's our responsibility as fathers. Obama continues, we should take all of these steps to build a strong foundation for our children, but we should also know that even if we meet our obligations as fathers and parents, there will still be days of struggle and heartache. The rains will still come and the winds will still blow. And that is why the final lesson we must learn as fathers is also the greatest gift we can pass on to our children. And that is the gift of hope. I'm not talking about an idle hope that's a little more than a blind optimism or willful ignorance of the problems that we face. I'm talking about hope as the spirit inside us that insists, despite all evidence to the contrary, that something better is waiting for us if we're willing to work for it and to fight for it, if we're willing to believe. I was answering questions at a town hall meeting in Wisconsin the other day, and a young man raised his hand, and I figured he'd ask about college tuition or energy or maybe even the war in Iraq. But instead, he looked at me very seriously, and he asked, "What does life mean to you?" Now, I have to admit, I wasn't quite prepared for that one. I think I stammered a little bit, but then I stopped, and I gave it some thought, and I said this. When I was a young man, I thought life was all about me. How do I make my way in the world? How do I become successful? How do I get the things that I want? But now, my life revolves around my two little girls, and what I think about is, what kind of world am I leaving them? Are they living in a country where there's a huge gap between a few who are wealthy and a whole bunch of people who are struggling every day? Are they living in a country that is still divided by race? A country where, because they're girls, they don't have as much opportunity as boys do? Are they living in a country where we are hated around the world because we don't cooperate effectively with other nations? Are they living in a world that is in grave danger because of what we have done to its climate? And what I've realized is that life doesn't count for much unless you're willing to do your small part to leave our children, all of our children, a better world, even if it's difficult. Even if the work seems great. Even if we don't get very far in our lifetime. This is our ultimate responsibility as fathers and parents. We try. We hope. We do what we can to build our house upon the sturdiest rock. And when the winds come and the rains fall, and they beat upon that house, we keep faith that our Divine Father will be there to guide us and watch over us and protect us and lead his children through the darkest storms into the light of a better day. That is my prayer for all of us on this Father's Day. And that is my hope for this country in the years ahead. And Obama concluded by saying, "May God bless you and your children." Thank you. So many thoughts enclosed and encased in this Father's Day sermon, which then Senator Obama gave June 15th, the year 2008. And everything that he said still applies today, with all the challenges that we are meeting today. Mothers, fathers, families, friends, strangers. We are all in this experience called life, this school called life together. And especially so here in our country. Do we want to recognize our unity of community with all other Americans, no matter what color God created them to be? You know, we all carry the masculine and feminine qualities within us. This is what unity teaches, and it is true because this we know from the very start of humanity, as given in Genesis, where the writer of Genesis says that we are created in the image and likeness of God. Male and female, he made them. Now that doesn't just mean that there are men and there are women, boys and girls. That means within each of us, we are made in the image and likeness of God, which is masculine and feminine. Now, there are 12 spiritual qualities that we teach here in Unity. That 12 spiritual faculties that we have within us. We're born with them. They are spiritual abilities. And these faculties spell out a little statement that is lip, L-I-P, Jews, J-U-Z-E, flows, F-L-O-W-S. And that stands for life, imagination, power. Jews, judgment, understanding, zeal and enthusiasm, and elimination. Flows, faith, love, order, and wisdom. We have all of these 12 spiritual gifts. Now, some of these spiritual gifts or qualities are considered masculine and some considered feminine. We can think of the spiritual power or spiritual ability or gift of power as being masculine. Now, power doesn't mean force. It means the ability, the power to get things done, to achieve things, to stay with things. Order can be considered masculine. Order in the universe, the order that we create in our lives. Wisdom is considered a masculine quality. Will is also seen as a masculine quality. But we have 6 inner abilities that are considered feminine, such as love and life, faith, understanding, our ability to let go or renunciation or release, and enthusiasm. Our thoughts, we understand in unity, create our experience in life. But when we state unity's law of mind action, which is the thoughts we hold in mind will produce of their kind, we often we often do not remember that it's not only just thoughts, it's thoughts and feelings. Thinking is masculine, feeling is considered feminine, but we all think and feel. Again, we all have these abilities. So when Unity uses the word thoughts, we're talking about the combination of thinking and feeling. Thinking helps us to create shape out of invisible substance. And feeling combines with thought, because feeling is the energy that we use to create. in our mind. The two together create the image of our good in substance in the subconscious level of mind, the incubator. So we use the masculine abilities within us, and we energize them with the feminine qualities within us. God bless you this Father's Day as you honor not only outer fathers, but decide to develop a closer relationship with the Divine Father. That was Jesus' name for God. And I understand that when Jesus said Father, he was speaking not only of his earthly provider, but also of his divine Father. The word Abba, which also means nurturer, caregiver, supporter. And bless all of you as we understand more about the men in our lives and the masculine energy within each of us as it combines with the feminine energy to bring and give shape and form and create images that then draw to them what is needed to take shape and form and expression in our lives. And we will talk more about this creative energy next week as we continue our messages, our series on prosperity. And now I invite you to join with me in a time of reflection, in meditation. You might like to sit back where you're seated, or if you're lying down, just relax and let whatever is holding you up, hold you up. Release your shoulders and let them drop and just be supported. Be supported. Okay? Let yourself be supported. Not only by your chair or the couch or the bed, but supported by the people in your life who nurture and support you as fathers do. I invite you to take several deep breaths now. And as you continue to take those breaths and exhale, accept these words as they are acceptable to you. I breathe in quiet and relaxation, and I let go worry, tension, fear, anxiety, concerns about my day, concerns about my life. I also let go challenges and problems and states of unforgiveness as I relate to my Father, whether here on this side of life or even if my Father is passed on to the other side of eternal life. I can give blessings. I can express my love, my appreciation, my gratitude, and my forgiveness if my Father has not been the Father that I needed to have. And so breathe that in and breathe that out. And as you exhale, let go all that is not love or loving within you right now toward fathers, father figures, toward anyone in your life that you may be holding in a negative space. Breathe in that awareness of divine love within. And breathe out that expression of divine love into your world, into your environment, into your families, into your home life, into our communities, into your state, into our country, into our world. Indeed, we are one in spirit as children of the one presence and power we call God. We are one. we allow ourselves to feel gratitude for our human fathers, human father figures, and gratitude for the masculine energy within us that allows us to express our strength, our power to achieve things in life, our will to stand firm in the decisions that we make for our highest and best good. And if a parent, we give thanks for the guidance that we receive as we support and nurture and provide for our children, inspire them, uplift them, encourage them. And I like what Obama said. Shake their hand and tell them to get their butts back in the library. That library can be a symbol for whatever it is that our children, all of our children, children of our country, children of our world, we're all parents in that sense. And we never know how much our influence may affect a child who becomes an adult, and perhaps a parent themselves. We are grateful for the opportunity to be an influence on the children in our world. And so we bless the fathers of the world, for we know that as they carry out their divine responsibility to parent our children, children of the world, to coach them, to lift them up, we know that they are laying the foundations of their prosperity, their abundant living. Thank you, Divine Spirit. Thank you, Divine Parent. For moving in us and through us and as us to bless in this world.